At what age can my dog or cat be considered elderly? A study of over 2 million cats and 4 million dogs has allowed us to better define their different life stages. Cats enter old age around 10 years of age. This period is then divided into maturity, senior, and super senior phases. The same study points out that the situation is less uniform for dogs, whose old age depends heavily on size. Small dogs, miniature and toy breeds weighing less than 9 kg, such as Chihuahuas or Cavalier. King Charles Spaniels enter the third phase of life around 7 years of age and become senior around 12 years of age. Medium to large dogs weighing more than 9 kilograms, such as Welsh Corgis, Golden Retrievers, and Australian Shepherds, for example, reach this stage earlier, around 6 years of age. But don't worry, the new phase doesn't necessarily mean the end is near. On the contrary, it may simply be time to pay closer attention to your pet and gradually adjust their environment, medical care, and care routine to help them age in the best possible conditions. What is healthy aging? How to assess it in your pet? But before we even talk about healthy aging, it's helpful to remember what aging is. A natural, gradual, and inevitable process. Over time, animals become less tolerant of environmental stress, and their cells accumulate damage, leading to various physiological changes. So, what do we mean by a dog or cat aging in good health? A recent consensus article in which I participated offers a definition adapted to our pets. A healthy senior animal is one that maintains sufficient capacity and resilience to meet its physical, behavioral, social, and emotional needs while maintaining a stable and positive relationship with its owner. Some signs are completely normal. Gray hair, slight tartar buildup, thinner skin, and slightly less acute senses. These have no noticeable impact on quality of life. On the other hand, mobility problems that hinder access to resources, difficulty getting up, climbing stairs, or interacting easily with you should not be considered simply as signs of aging. The same applies to the first signs of cognitive dysfunction, a syndrome that has some similarities to Alzheimer's disease. When a dog or cat has difficulty finding its food bowl or seems lost inside the house, for example, in these cases, it is necessary to consult a veterinarian. Quality of life, therefore, becomes the central criterion for assessing whether an animal is aging harmoniously. In dogs and cats, the concept of frailty, derived from human geriatrics, is used. How can you assess the frailty of your pet? Frailty index. If at least 3 components are affected, the individual is considered frail. Criteria: appearance, weakness, loss of strength and or muscle mass, poor mobility, decrease in activity levels compared to the animal's adult phase, malnutrition, loss of body mass or appetite, fatigue, intolerance to exercise compared to the animal's adult phase. Animals classified as frail are more prone to developing diseases and should be monitored more closely. The main advantage of this approach is that, just as in humans, frailty detected early can sometimes be mitigated. Hence the importance of regular screening and early support for the best care of our elderly companions. Some adjustments to be made. The first step is to make the animalist's environment more accessible so that it can easily reach all its resources. Food, water, resting, and hiding places, contact areas, etc. Some accessories and adjustments can make a big difference, including small steps to climb onto the sofa, armchairs, firm and low cushions or elevated feeders for dogs and cats with osteoarthritis, etc. Increasing the number of access points is also helpful. 2 or 3 feeding areas, several sleeping places, and more. Easy to reach litter boxers. Some commercial litter boxers are too high for cats with osteoarthritis. A wide box with a low rim may be much more comfortable. Maintaining a calm and positive relationship is essential. Behaviors considered undesirable should always be investigated by a veterinarian and an animal behavior specialist or a veterinary. They may reflect a need, discomfort, or difficulty. A cat that scratches the carpet instead of the scratching post, for example, may simply be seeking a less painful position. Some animals also become more anxious or reactive with age or certain medical conditions. Therefore, It's important to understand the cause instead of punishing them, risking damaging the relationship and not solving the problem. Cognitive and physical stimulation should continue, but adapted to the animal's capabilities. Interactive feeders or interactive bowls where animals need to solve puzzles to get food are still useful, provided they are chosen according to the animal's condition. A scratching mat or an interactive bowl that can be pushed with the snout are preferable to a system that requires complex paw movements. Games, learning, and short training sessions are still beneficial. Sometimes, simply shortening the sessions and using very attractive rewards such as small pieces of chicken breast or sausage, etc., is enough. Walks can be adapted, particularly with the use of comfortable and safe bags to carry the dog when it is very tired, either for part or the entire walk. The important thing is to continue giving the animal access to the outdoors. Finally, nutrition is fundamental in the care of senior animals. Aging brings about changes in digestion and a gradual loss of muscle mass. Therefore, it is recommended to choose an easily digestible diet with a pleasant smell and taste for your pet, specifically formulated for the needs of senior animals. Raw meat should be avoided. It is often unbalanced in terms of minerals, which can be harmful to older animals who are particularly sensitive to excess phosphorus or inadequate calcium phosphorus. Furthermore, they present a greater health risk because their immune systems are less effective. On the other hand, combining dry food kibble with wet food, terrans, mousses, etc., is often beneficial. A homemade, cooked meal following a veterinarian's guidance can also help the animal regain its appetite. And for the pickiest animals, a simple trick may suffice. Slightly warming the wet food to enhance the smell and make it more appetizing. When should I take my pet to the vet? Regular veterinary checkups are still essential, mainly to keep vaccinations and deworming up to date. Aging weakens the immune system, making older animals more vulnerable and requiring regular protection against infectious diseases and parasites. Geriatric consultations aim to monitor the aging process, which is unique to each individual. The first consultation is usually the longest to allow for an in-depth discussion and to include additional tests when necessary. These initial results will serve as a reference for follow-up consultations. Ideally, this monitoring should begin at the start of old age. The frequency of consultations will depend on the animal's progress, every 6 months if signs of frailty appear, or once a year if their condition remains stable. The challenge is no longer just to prolong the lives of our furry friends, but above all, to prolong their health. After all, we want them to enjoy life as much as possible, just as we want them to enjoy life for us humans. If this content was helpful to you, like the video and subscribe to follow future posts